Midnight Drearies.
Thoughts are things. I have bad thoughts. Tina had always been a quiet girl. Her parents often worried about her, seeing her as an introvert who kept to herself. It wasn't that she didn't want to make friends, she just had a nagging fear that if people got too close, they'd see the darkness inside her. The thoughts that plagued her mind were like a shadow that refused to be ignored. One sweltering summer afternoon, as Tina sat on her porch, rocking in an old creaky chair, the thoughts became too much to bear. The heat pressed down on her, and the world felt like it was closing in. Her inner torment was a relentless whisper in her ear, urging her to give in to the darkness. She could see the neighbors' children playing across the street, their laughter and joy taunting her. Jealousy flared within her. It wasn't just that she wanted to join them, she wanted to make them suffer, like she suffered every day. A cruel idea crept into her mind, one she couldn't shake. She focused all her attention on the children, silently willing something terrible to happen to them. It felt like an eternity, but then, a sudden gust of wind whipped through the trees, causing one of the children to stumble and fall. He screamed in pain, and Tina couldn't suppress her wicked grin. Her thoughts had taken form, and they were capable of dark deeds. The incident with the neighbor's child was just the beginning. Tina realized the power her thoughts held, and she couldn't resist the temptation to wield it. The darkness within her became an entity of its own, taking on a sinister form that followed her every step. The figure was a shadowy, grotesque version of herself, a doppelganger that thrived on malevolent thoughts. Tina's descent into madness accelerated. She reveled in her newfound power, inflicting pain and suffering on anyone who dared cross her path. Friends, family, and strangers all fell victim to her sinister thoughts. She was a puppet master, controlling the world around her with the strings of her twisted mind. Word of Tina's malevolent abilities spread throughout the town like wildfire. People spoke of her in hushed tones, fearing the very mention of her name. She had become a local legend, a living nightmare. But the worst was yet to come. One fateful night, the darkness within Tina reached its zenith. She had grown bored of petty acts of cruelty and yearned for something grander. As she gazed out of her window at the full moon, a wicked idea took hold. She would unleash her malevolent thoughts on the entire town, bathing it in darkness and despair. Tina's shadowy doppelganger slithered from her side and began to multiply. One after the other, every bad thought she thought became a bad thing, a living creature made from her dark thoughts birthed by her hatred inner torment. As they spread, they corrupted everything they touched. Trees withered, animals howled in agony, and the very air seemed to thicken with malevolence. People woke in the middle of the night, their minds awash with sinister thoughts. As the night progressed, their darkness touched everyone in town. A man's rage at his cheating wife took the form of a monstrous specter that chased her through the house. A teenager's resentment toward her parents spawned vengeful apparitions that whispered cruel taunts in their ears. The town descended into chaos, consumed by the bad thought things. Tina, meanwhile, reveled in the tumult she had unleashed. She stood at the edge of town, a malevolent smile on her face as she watched the world crumble around her. She had become the queen of her own nightmarish realm. But the darkness that she had so eagerly embraced began to consume her as well. Her shadowy doppelganger turned on her, feeding off her malevolence. It wrapped around her like a suffocating cloak, its tendrils digging into her flesh. Tina's laughter turned into pained screams, and she realized the price she had to pay for her wicked desires. Desperation clawed at her as she struggled to regain control. She remembered all the joy and innocence she had lost, the family and friends she had hurt. With every ounce of strength she had left, she fought back against the darkness, tearing it off of her. She grabbed it with both hands. Realizing that her childhood had always been tinted with darkness, that every joy was marred by something terrible, Tina embraced the blackness within her heart and dissolved her doppelganger. She called for the other bad things to return to her. And they did, with passion and fealty they reabsorbed back into her body, into her heart of darkness. I run this town now. And tomorrow night we will take Glenwood. Then after that, Haddonfield. Then after that, Crystal Cove. Tina laughed, and the bad things inside her laughed too.